Um, but I start with one enormous advantage, which is that John Bruton has just, in a masterful way, set out for you the dilemmas that we all face. He has also done something else for which I'm grateful. He has spoken about the importance of the future relationship with Ireland. Those of you who know these islands that he and I live in will know that my name indicates that I am of Irish origin. As it happens, on my father's side from the south of Ireland, on my mother's side from the north. These things really do matter. They are about the identity, the future, the peace and prosperity of all of us. And the negotiation that we launched following the British people's decision in June 2016 is a very difficult one. It's a difficult one for all the substantive reasons that John Bruton set out. There is a very big body of things to be decided, and they are things which matter very much to the European Union. The European Union clearly is not in the business of changing the way it does things to accommodate someone who is leaving. But it's deeper than that, because the United Kingdom is not simply another country that has swum into the orbit of the EU and is heading off again. We are part of the EU. And there's one point I nearly raised my hand and disagreed with you when you said 27 countries of the EU. There are 28 at the moment. There is a negotiation between 27 and 1 about the future. And what's that negotiation about? Well, it is about these very concrete things. First of all, it's about agreeing a withdrawal agreement, agreeing how we will withdraw. There's, in international law, in the treaties, there's a deadline for that, of the 29th of March next year. And it's a deadline that has to be met with all respect for parliamentary, political, constitutional processes. It may then, we hope, be followed by a couple of years of implementation, and then a future relationship. And that future relationship is going to be, simply because of the facts of the case, something new, something that hasn't been achieved before. Because what is happening is a country that fulfills all the requirements of the EU's acquis. That is a member in good standing and in good faith, that has acted together with our partners for 40 years in this framework, is leaving, but leaving in a state where it will, on the morning of the 30th of March, still fulfill every one of the requirements of the EU, except that it's not a member. And I think that this is one of the things that makes the process so difficult, because it's not just technical. It's not simply the famous Commission sausage machine conducting a negotiation that grinds every point down to the finest detail. There is a big question here about how do you cope with the idea that a country that shares all the values and interests of the European Union nevertheless wishes to conduct its life in future not as a member of the European Union. So I think we are going to go through 3 phases. We are conducting these negotiations, and they are difficult, as everyone acknowledges. They are making progress. There has been a lot of progress on the withdrawal agreement, but not all of it is there, and some of the most complex issues remain to be resolved. Ireland is one of them. Then there is going to be a phase in which we get used, or rather, in which we have to adjust to the reality. Britain will have left, processes will be unrolling as has been agreed, and we will end up with the final future relationship. And let's be clear, whatever whatever actually happens, there is going to be a relationship. We are an island, a collection of islands, off the coast of Europe. We have an enormous trading relationship. We have an enormous security relationship. We are friends and partners in so many things. So we will still be there with a relationship with the European Union. The question is, how will that be refined? How well will it work? What commitments will we have made to each other about our future? And then we will have to live in that new world when Britain shares values and interests with the European Union, has agreed how we are going to live and work together, but is not a member of the European Union. So that's one very, very big thing that occupies our thoughts and occupies our time. But for us, of course, it's not just that story. The story is not just about that. Just as the European Union has many other issues to worry about, not least of them the question of enlargement in southeastern Europe. We have a role and a place, interests and values in the world. We're a member of the UN Security Council. We have the responsibilities and capabilities that come from that. We are a member of NATO, which makes us, because we are a very capable member of NATO, which makes us one of the key players in the big security issues. We are a member of many other international organisations, and we will, of course, again be in our own right, on our own, a member of the World Trade Organization. I know Kyle Scott is going to talk about trade later, so I won't now. But I want to emphasize that however difficult and complex and demanding of our time and effort the negotiations with the European Union are, we also remain committed to making the most powerful and positive contribution that we can to what is happening in the world, to what is happening on security issues, to what is happening on dealing with terrorism or with other threats, on what is happening on climate change, on what is happening on development. We're one of the few countries in the world that meets the 7% of GDP target for aid. And we do that because we believe in trying to play a positive role in the world. And that brings me back to southeastern Europe, to the Balkans. Because one of the questions that people asked me most in the days after the 2016 referendum was a question that has been asked 2 or 3 times today already, which is how come the United Kingdom is leaving the European Union but wants other countries to join? And the answer is, yet again, because that is a question of our interests and our values. It is in our interests that the countries of the Western Balkans should complete their path of reform and reconciliation and join the European Union, because that is what will bring them security, stability and prosperity. And that is in our interests. And that will also bring these countries more closely, more tightly and more productively into the community of values that we share in this very difficult and dangerous world. So, to sum up, we face a very difficult task. We are negotiating an important part of our future with our friends. They find it difficult, we find it difficult, but we would believe we will succeed. And if we don't succeed, and if there is no deal, well, we will all have to deal with it, and everyone is thinking about what that would mean. But that is not what anyone wants. It would not be good for any of us. And what we really want and need is a deal that works. So to conclude, we are doing that, and we are not going away. This, I think, is the most important message I want to leave you with. These islands do not float. They are still going to be there. We will still be there. And we will be playing the most productive and capable role in the world that we can. Thank you very much.